Well, it is 2 p.m., hopefully not any minutes after, and I think that we can go ahead and get started. If everybody is, Lynn and Kimberly, if you are ready, I'm ready.
Yes, that'd be fine.
Good. Okay. Thank you for everybody that's joining us on the live stream and that has registered. I know that we'll have people popping in and out. Another email was just sent as a reminder to all of our members. And so we will roll on. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kristen Terry, Pastor NC's president and HR generalist for the city of Asheboro. For those of you that have joined us but are not PASHRA members, we are the statewide affiliate chapter of the Public Sector Human Resources Association. Thank you for joining us for our first joint educational opportunity with NC4ME, North Carolina for Military Employment. This will not be the last time that we will hear from our partners here. Our chapter is dedicated to building relationships and partnerships with organizations that have a shared vision like ours, one of those being to increase awareness of the benefits of public sector employment. The purpose of today's session is to educate us as human resources professionals about a highly qualified pool of applicants you may not be aware of or tapped into, which are veterans. As their website states, NC4ME is here to educate us as strategic business leaders on the value of hiring a military workforce, provide accredited human resources training on how to recruit, select, and retain high-performing military talent, and connect employers with high-performing military talent to drive business results. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. You will be receiving a SHRM PDC code after this presentation. And for those of you who have IPMA certifications, we will be emailing a certificate of completion. There will also be a question and answer session at the end, so please put your questions in the chat. And lastly, there will be a drawing for a $50 Visa gift card at the end of today's presentation that will be mailed to the winner. Without delay, I'll start by introducing my co-hosts and presenters, Lynn Kinney, Director of Programs and Outreach, and Kimberly Williams, Founder and CEO of NC4ME, a comprehensive public-private partnership founded in 2015 by the governor that sits under the governor's office support. A few of Kimberly's accolades over her 30 years of experience leading human resources professionals in the private and public sectors and nonprofit environments include directing the U.S. Human Resources function for the Burger King Corporation and leading human resources for Carnival Cruise Lines. Another interesting fact I learned today about Kimberly is that she founded the SHRM Virgin Islands affiliate chapter. Kimberly's current role is the Chief HR Officer for the City of Jacksonville, North Carolina, and she is a dynamic public speaker that I had the pleasure of meeting back in 2022 when she presented to us in Randolph County. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you so much. No pressure about the dynamic speaker piece. I appreciate that, Kristen. We'll see how I do. I always love presenting to HR professionals. So thank you for everyone that is participating. I am an HR professional. That is my background. It's really all I know. And when I wanted to help veterans, it was obviously something I knew I could do by assisting with talent acquisition. So this is what really started NC4ME. Although it is an economic development initiative for the state of North Carolina, our team is passionate about making sure our veterans get meaningful employment. And that's why we do the work. But for you, HR professionals, this is a great benefit, because we all know right now in this employment market, times are tough. Trying to find high-performing candidates and making sure that we increase retention, reduce our turnover, because as we know, that's what helps drive bottom line success for our organization. So with that said, I'm going to go over a few slides and we'll take questions at the end. But as Kristen said, it is my background in human resources that drives this work. And again, I love speaking with HR professionals. So with that said, I'm trying to move my slide forward, and let's see. apologize. We tested this and it worked fine. And there we go. So let's talk about military talent. Often, many people, all of us in human resources, are constantly looking for talent. And it's because we know that 70 to 80% of our organization's budget is spent on human resources. That doesn't matter if you work in a service industry, if you work in a manufacturing environment. Anywhere between 70 to 80% of your budget is spent on your folks in human resources. So attracting and selecting the right people, the high performing employees in your organization is incredibly important. And what we want to talk to you about is how do you increase your retention rates and decrease your recruitment costs? And we think we've got some solutions for you. So 80% of military occupational specialties, MOSs, 80% have a civilian counterpart. We truly believe if you tap into a diverse pool of candidates, which is our military, that we can help you decrease your recruitment costs and increase your retention rates. So let's talk a little bit about high-performing candidates. I want you to look at the left of your screen, and I want you to talk about or think about training and development. I'm going to guess, if I ask the question, how many of you recognize these competencies on the left? Most of you are going to say, wow, those are on our performance evaluations. These are basically Fortune 500 competencies. These are the competencies that probably your organization has many of these, and I've only put a few as an example, that you actually recruit against, you interview against, you hire against, and you train against these competencies or similar ones like project management, teamwork, valuing diversity, ethics and integrity, even customer service, leadership, innovation. These are the same competencies that our military personnel are measured against. And unfortunately, we often believe that our service members are driving tanks and shooting guns and that they aren't being developed on the soft skills piece. These on the left, many of these are the exact same competencies that our military is trained against, and they're trained against regularly. When I say regularly, we do performance evaluations. Most of us in human resources at least do annual performance evaluations. I would say there's a good mix on this line that maybe do them every 6 months, but not typically every quarter or honestly every month. The military evaluates performance monthly, and they do it against these types of competencies. So we're always kind of in an uphill battle with employers and HR professionals, making them understand that our transitioning service members have some of those soft skills. Only 1% of the nation's population is in the military, and the other 99% are people like me that didn't serve. And unfortunately, our perception is not necessarily what it should be, which is these service members are coming out after training monthly, having not only performance evaluations, but career development plans outlined for them for the next year. So I would suggest that you look at your evals and see if you see some of these same competencies, because this is what our service members are trained on regularly. Then we talk about those candidates that are coming out, and they're coming out with experience and attributes that you don't typically see in candidates that you're screening through Indeed or others. For example, those that are exiting the military, I said that the MOSs have an 80% counterpart in the civilian community. We have folks that are coming out with healthcare experience, with experience in information technology, with experience in accounting, with experience in law, in logistics, in human resources, in public safeties, facility management. I could list 100 different experiences here, but I'm trying to get you to understand that when we look at those individuals exiting the military, you have to think about that these individuals have performed in the biggest company in America. I'm often told as a human resources professional, I would constantly have groups that were supporting veteran causes come to me when I was, within a SHRM meeting, a Society of Human Resource Management meeting, and they would constantly say, hire a veteran, it's the right thing to do. And I really thought long and hard about hiring people, and I really don't hire people because it's the right thing to do. We hire people that have the knowledge, skills, and experience that are going to drive performance. We need to know that we are hiring high-performing candidates that are going to help us drive our bottom line results. So that's what I want to talk to HR professionals about. It's about hiring people that are going to drive results in your company. So our military individuals come out with experience in these types of things, and the attributes that they bring is increased retention rates, drug-free, physically fit, certainly a diverse candidate pool that is absolutely results focused, and the most technologically proficient group that have ever exited the military. So if I haven't really gotten you excited about hiring military yet, I do want to talk about our transitioning service members and what their demographics look like. 14% have a bachelor's degree. 14% of the transitioning service members have a bachelor's degree. And most of them are more than halfway through their bachelor's degree before exiting. 5% have an advanced degree. And 50% are under the age of 30, 75% under the age of 40. These are individuals that are of working age, are high performing, and are looking for careers. So the Society for Human Resource Management did do a recent study. And in that study, I want you to focus on that number in the center. 68% of those companies that were, there we go, I see my slides a little slow on my other screen. 68% of those companies that were surveyed identified their service member, their veteran, the individuals that work in their space that are military candidates are outperforming their civilian counterparts. That's exceptional to me. Almost 70% of those companies across our country said their veterans are outperforming their civilian counterparts. So North Carolina is very uniquely positioned. We're the third largest Department of Defense presence in the United States. What does that mean? That means that we have a lot of people that are exiting our bases every year. So I've already told you about how we can measure their performance. I've already told you that their MOSs, their military occupational specialty, translates into civilian careers. We've already told you that they're evaluated regularly, monthly, on the same competencies, many of which that you have in your organization. Then I'm going to tell you here to focus on the number on the far right, which is 20,000. 20,000 service members exiting our bases here in North Carolina. And guess what they're looking for? A meaningful career. We talk about relocation, and these are the top three factors, but I want you to focus on number one. So employment is driving their decisions. Right now, in this economy where finding great candidates is difficult, we are really in a unique position in North Carolina to have candidates leaving our bases that are highly competent to move into the careers that we have in our companies. So what we want to do is we want to help you with that. So we at NC4ME really only do three things. And Kristen really touched on that earlier and did a great job. We deliver the value proposition similar to what I'm doing right now, which is educating two groups of people. First, we educate strategic leaders on the value proposition of bringing military talent to their organization. We say, look at our veterans, look at our transitioning service members, look at our Guard and Reserve members, and look at our military spouses. And we talk about the value of bringing them into their organization. We want to make sure when we get to our strategic leaders, these are your people that are your CEOs, your CFOs, your COOs, or it could be a business owner, right? It's someone that makes the strategic decisions for the company, because what we want companies to do is to put a strategic initiative in place to focus on veteran employment. So us as HR professionals, I know sometimes we can get frustrated because we suggest, we influence, we encourage employment and hiring, but usually our hiring managers are making the decision. So a lot of times I'll get HR professionals that say, how do I make a difference in my organization when I focus on veteran employment, but not necessarily my hiring managers? Well, this is where we come in. We meet with the strategic leaders. So any introduction you want to provide to us with your strategic leaders in an organization where we can talk to them about putting initiatives in place, a strategic initiative in place to focus on veteran employment. That'll make your job a lot easier, I can assure you. The second thing we do is we educate HR professionals similar to this, where we're meeting with HR professionals across the state, with SHRM or HRCI or with you. And we're talking about what is it that you need to do to understand how you can connect to military talent. It's interesting. I love focusing on the public sector because you are my peeps. I get you. I understand human resources in the public sector. And what's super cool is we actually have piloted with Bladen County an initiative. And now with Franklin County and Wake County. We're looking at what we can do to assist counties and cities. We believe that counties and cities have exceptional careers for our service members. Between water plants, IT, human resources, streets, public safety, right? Police and fire and rescue. There's some incredible careers, and we know our service members are interested in those. So I'm super excited about talking to this group of HR professionals because I know that you can help influence bringing veterans into your organization, and we'd like to help you do that. That goes to our third program element, which is our Career Connection program. That is, how do you connect with the military talent? Unfortunately, getting on bases is not easy. And if you individually want to get on a base, you're going to struggle with making that happen other than maybe table days. What we do is we have MOUs with our military bases, and we can connect directly with them. So we get to help educate our transitioning service members through TAPS, Transitioning Assistance Program, and through TRS, our Transitioning Readiness Seminars, whether it's the Army bases, the Air Force bases, the Marine Corps bases across our state. We have a presence. We have an office in Jacksonville, right outside of Camp Lejeune in New River, and we have an office at the Soldier Support Center at Fort Liberty. So we like to facilitate networking events and hiring events. Our goal is to focus on attracting military talent into our system, meaning we do intake sessions. We will do these networking sessions or hiring events where we attract our veterans to come to us, and we will get them into our database. We then do an intake session with them to find out what they're interested in. And at that point, then we will take any of those careers we have for the companies we've identified and vetted, and we will do a Career Connection 365. That simply means 365 days of the year, we're pushing candidates out to our companies. This is how it works, our Career Connection funnel. We attract those veterans through different ways, whether it's the networking events I just referred to, which we refer to as Beers and Careers, or if it's an online registration or our hiring events. Often we'll have anywhere from 10 to 50 companies, organizations represented at an event. And they will look at our candidates and maybe hire some of them right there. Or if we have a couple hundred candidates, maybe the company they're interested in or the careers we're interested in aren't represented at that event. But we get to get them into our database and then move them forward to many of the companies that weren't able to make those events. So the system is ongoing and it works. Just to give you an idea of our results. We talk about educating leaders. We have educated over 12,600 leaders on the value of bringing military talent to the organization with similar data that we've shared today. We've also, at this point, had over 11,700 career connections. That's over 1,000 a year. And at this point, whether you're in an event or in our 365 database, we have a 53% success rate. Now, many of you who attend job fairs are familiar with those. This is not about job fairs. We don't, when you go to a job fair, you walk into a big arena with a lot of employers, and the candidates typically get some candy or some swag. But the reality is that they only have a 2% success rate in getting a career there. We try to avoid that approach. And instead, we try to do the one-on-one connection, a warm handoff. And I think we've been very successful. As a matter of fact, we tout that every single service member that works with us has a one-on-one connection. So we always have someone that reaches them in some fashion so that we can understand what it is that they're interested in doing, and we can have a better idea of how we can match them to your careers. And just as a side note, we have, in 2024 alone, we have had over 800 career connections this year alone, since January. I wanted to identify some of our partners. This is important to us because they help us keep the doors open. Cisco has been a founding partner of ours since day one, and we also partner with Pike and Dominion. We have an absolute connection with the Society of Human Resources Management, ESGR, Syracuse University, and our National Guard, who helps us with all of our resume review. We'd love to have a connection with you as well. So with that, I'm open to any questions, and I will stop my screen share.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Like I said before, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat for Lynn to moderate.
All right, since we're not getting any questions here, Kimberly, we had a conversation a while back with a couple of employers, and they asked how they can translate veteran military experience and skills into relevant qualifications in the job market. Do you have any advice for employers that might be seeking to hire military talent?
So I've got some advice, and I'm going to be completely transparent with this because we get this question constantly, which is, I'll have veterans that come to interview, and I feel like we have difficulty with translating what their skills are, and there is a simple fix to this right now. And I'm going to let you know it's a candidate's market. So the onus is on you as the employer to figure out what you need to do to get this high performing talent. It's not really on the veteran because they're in demand right now. What I would tell you is the first thing you have to do is you would need to identify who your veterans are in your organization. That's the first thing, because honestly, they got all the answers. Figure out who your veterans are and then involve them in the interview process. They need to be at the table in panel interviews for two reasons. They will be able to translate sitting there for you. And they will also make the veteran feel at ease. So get your veterans engaged in the process. And the third thing is once you put a veteran in place, once you decide to hire them and bring them on, you need to buddy them. I'm not saying a formal mentoring program. That's fine if you want to go through that process. But simply buddying them with somebody that is also a veteran, it's great if it's the same military branch. They will start working out together. They'll get together after work. They will work together and probably never leave your organization. They will lean on each other. If you put those three things in place, identify who your veterans are, make them part of the interview process, and then buddy up when you bring someone in. I promise you, you will see your retention increase. Also, not a bad idea to advertise your veterans. I always tell this quick story, and I know Eric Pike, who is the owner of Pike Corporation. He's the president and CEO for Pike Corporation. You all may know them. They're a power company, largest subcontractor for Duke Power. They have about 10,000 employees across the country. They're based in North Carolina. And he was interested in bringing veterans because I constantly see my veterans and they're outperforming everybody. And I want to get more veterans into my organization. We love our veterans. And when I say veteran, I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm talking about transitioning service members. I'm talking about veterans. I'm talking about Guard and Reserve and military spouses. It's just a lot to say. So I'll just say veteran. But he told us how much he values the veterans. Now, this is the CEO of the organization. So I quickly Googled them on my phone. And there wasn't anything on their website that said they valued veterans. There was nothing. I would tell you it's a simple fix. And we told them. And since then, we've put hundreds of veterans, connected them with Pike. You simply find out who in your organization is a veteran and you showcase them on your website. And if you get a picture of them in their uniform and then a picture of them working with you, and they can just do a testimonial. Hey, I love my company. They love what I did in the military and they understand the value I bring. Just that is the way you open the door. And then you go from there with getting them involved in the interview process and then certainly buddying them up at the end. That's what I would like to tell employers.
Thanks so much. Kristen, you had a question.
Yeah, so recently our city manager had me to apply for the Hire Vets Medallion program, and I really hadn't heard of it before, but he went to a summit and was encouraged as a city manager to do that. So my question was, do you know anything? What are the benefits of that designation? Would something like that help us to attract veterans? And then does your organization have anything similar, any designations that people can apply for?
That's a great question. So that designation is run by our state under the Commerce Department, and we work with them. I mean, actually, honestly, the Department of Commerce is who is your county manager, by the way, Kristen?
City manager for City of Asheboro is John Ogburn.
Okay. All right. We need to come up and meet with them. So The designation is good. I don't know all the specifics. I know Lynn is researching that now because we are partnered with the Department of Commerce and we want to make sure that we are working with them. We are putting together a coalition of partners for NC4ME, so there can be a designation associated with working with us. And I know that's Lynn has been on the team for about 60 days, and that's one of her priorities. Lynn, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Our team has actively been reaching out to organizations that have been designated as Higher Vets Medallion recipients. So we are looking to expand the program and excited to see that there are other folks that are interested in reaching that status. And we're just excited to work with the organization. So more to follow on that, and we'll be in touch, absolutely. And please feel free to reach out to us so that we can help make the connections and essentially help you along the way at reaching that accomplishment.
Thank you.
Now, are all our of our participants? They are all public sector. I don't get to see their counties or cities on this participant piece, but I'm excited. If there's anyone that has any questions, again, as I said, we are piloting with Bladen, with Franklin County, Dave, and with in Brunswick.
So we have folks online from Winston, Salem, from Lenore, Goldsboro, and Newton. I'm sure that there are more. There's representation, obviously, from Asheboro. Please put a note in the comments. Let us know where you're from. If you have any questions for Kimberly. Kimberly, we also discussed, or we've discussed previously, how organizations can ensure that their culture is inclusive and supportive of veterans, some with particular needs.
Yeah, so I think, in public sector, we're not necessarily as advanced as our private sector counterparts when it comes to veteran employee resource groups. I think there's some easy ways to do that without being so formal, right? With you all are, I'm sure, familiar with ERGs, employee resource groups. And I know that some of our counties and cities don't have those in place, but there are some simple, loose ways to do that. And that's, again, going back to just identifying who your veterans are in the organization, putting them together and talking about what their needs are. I think, I am with the city of Jacksonville, and we are fortunate that we are just outside the gate to Camp Lejeune and New River. About 30% of our employee base are veterans. And we have over 600 employees, and right now our vacancies are maybe 17. And the reality is, and I know all of you in counties and cities that have sheriff's departments or police departments probably have an abundance of vacancies. I will tell you that we have vacancies, but not at that level. And it's because we have a direct connection to the military bases, and we're able to bring military talent directly in. I think, it's nice to come to these webinars, and it's good to hear about, where you can find talent. But unless you take action and do something, you're going to still have some of the same issues with attracting and recruiting, particularly those in the rural environment. We have a lot of our transitioning service members that are from small, that maybe are not from North Carolina, but are from small towns and cities across this country that like that environment and would like to get back to that. And what we've done in surveying our candidates, our transitioning military folks, 89% of them want to stay in North Carolina. They're just looking for a meaningful career. So if you're worried that maybe I'm in a small environment, we're not going to be able to attract people, I would tell you that that's not the case, and we can help you with that.
Thank you for answering that, Kimberly. Simone Alexander asks, how do you deal with pay disparities of what veterans would like to receive versus a position that you are budgeted for?
So that's a great question. We've actually had a lot of headway in this. Our service members used to get out with a very high expectation of salary, and we found that that is not as prevalent as it used to be. I think we've done a good job, not just us, but our partners, in educating our transitioning service members on what to expect when they transition. So I don't see that as big an issue as it has been in the past. But I will give you just a couple things. One, if our folks are retiring and they were enlisted, but they're at a high level because they've done 20 years now, when they get out between their retirement and their VA, their salary to keep them whole is about what you can afford for some of your entry level positions. And many of them are not looking for the stress and rigor of a position that is at the same level they're leaving at. So we get a lot of that. But if they're not retiring and they're getting out after maybe just one or two enlistments, 3 or 6 years, uh, then I will tell you that those individuals are looking at somewhere around $36,000 to $45,000 a year, depending on what the position is. And I think that we have lots of positions in our organizations that are within that range. And I would also say focus on military spouses as well, because our military spouses, 65% of them are underemployed. A large percentage, over 50%, have bachelor's degrees and aren't utilizing them. So we would be happy to connect you to, we're actually doing, is it May 22nd, Lynn? Our military spouse event in Fayetteville. So we're excited about that. There's going to be an abundance of folks that are interested. And I know Fayetteville is in one area and your county or city may be in another, but they are, if you're within an hour of that range, they're willing to drive for the work, and or if you have virtual options. I know that's not necessarily how some of our public sector works, but that is an option as well. Great question, Simone. Do we have any other questions?
Okay. Well, everyone, you're going to get contact information along with your certificate of completion. So if there are, Lynn, if you would maybe put your email or someone's email in the chat so they can grab it off of there in case they have something, you know, right after the session that they want to send, and I'll make sure that I put your contact information whenever I send their certificate of completion to for anybody whose questions come up after the fact. How about that? Okay. So at this time, if you guys are ready, I'll have Simone to grab the names and we'll do a little prize giveaway while people may be thinking about something they want to talk about. Okay, looks like Simone put in the chat, Brandon wins. So Brandon Elrod, she said, I can respin if you want it on the screen. No, we won't respin. Brandon is just fine to win. Thank you so much, Simone. So Brandon, I will get in contact with you and get you your $50 gift card, okay? Oh, great.
I'll answer that. So, unless one of the participants want to, because we're all HR professionals, I would say your entry level position is probably an admin and or technician in human resources, where you can learn the basics of what the requirements are for compliance or for talent acquisition or for total rewards on the comp and ben side. You kind of get to learn a little bit about everything before you decide which of the areas you want to specialize in.
Yep, great question, Monique. Thank you. Well, if nobody else has any questions, and then Lynn, if you were done with your list of others there, I think we're okay to adjourn a little bit early. Is that okay with you, Kimberly?
Oh, that's fine. And I'm sure Lynn will have her email address. And if anyone needs assistance, we really would like for you to go to nc4me.org and let us know how we can help push some candidates to you. We do not charge for our services. So there's no downside in working with us.
So, thank you all for joining this virtual opportunity. And a special thank you goes out to Lynn of NC4ME for working behind the scenes to make this happen. Trenton, our social media manager, who you don't see, but he is into everything. And Simone for helping me with promotional emails and everything technical, because I need a lot of help with all of that stuff. Like I said at the opening, you will receive certificates of completion via email once I get them created. And this presentation will be located on our YouTube channel for you to rewatch and share. So everyone, thank you again for joining. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.